Oh, excellent. Well, Jennifer, I hope you enjoy this session. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to get much more familiar with these Edu protocols. Good, good. I have to tell you that beginning the year in remote learning, these things saved my bacon. A week before my school year started, I was told that I was not going to be teaching, I'm a history teacher, I was not going to be teaching world history, that instead I was going to be teaching a subject that I had never taught before, which was AP Gov and Honors Econ. Neither of those subjects I've taught before. I know, but I'm familiar with the topics and they're part of my credential, but I've been teaching for 20 years and it's been a long time since I've gone to school for both of those. And I was going to be doing AP and honors. So these things saved my bacon this year because I was relying on them quite a bit. And I am very happy to share them with you because I think they are brilliant. So it is time. Let's start. What I want to do is, so I am going to take a chance with us all here in this room because there are a lot of Edu protocols. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so that you can see the presentation. I'm also going to put a link to this, or actually at the end of the presentation, I have a link on the slide deck for you, and I'm going to put this into the chat. So this is the presentation that we're going to look at, and at the end I have a link to all of the resources, and one of those resources is actually, I'm going to switch tabs real quick, and I'm hoping that you guys will all see them too. So are you looking at a spreadsheet now? I hope. Perfect. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay, so this spreadsheet has the tutorials for every single one of them. To do research for this presentation, I went back to the Edu Protocol website and noticed that the man has written another book. The man and the woman have written another book. So now there's a whole Edu Protocol book on just math skills. So that is not on here, but you have everything from the first Edu Protocol book and from the second Edu Protocol book. And now I know that I've lost some of you because you don't know that Edu Protocol is a series, a learning series, or basically it comes from these two books. Let me start presenting to you guys so you can see it in full screen. So it comes from these two books. I was turned on to this Edu Protocol not last year, but the year before, the first one, the field guide. And then partway through, I've learned that he had another one out. So I quickly got that one and I started looking at it. Now, these Edu protocols are not, they're actually structures for lessons, and they're meant to be done multiple times a school year, but you're just adding the content to them as they go. So these are like little school routines that you would use to make up an entire lesson for your students. So they're high energy and engaging. Most of the protocols are meant to be timed, and the timing is to add a little like competitive pressure for the kids, but it also is something that kind of keeps it moving and keeps it interesting. So usually there is, not on all of them, but on most of them, there's some kind of thing that kind of keeps the lesson going, and usually it's just that it's being timed. And most of these protocols, which is why they really helped me this year, many of the protocols are adapted for online, as well as you could do them in person, face-to-face. They'll work either way just as well. So what I thought I would do, there are lots of these things. There are lots of these different protocols. In fact, let me get out of presentation mode for a second and let me get back into here. So each of these you're going to get a link to this sheet, but each of these represents a different one of these models. And up at the top, just in case you wanted to pay attention to your standards, they focus on a type of critical thinking. Usually these things, they'll focus on one type of critical thinking. So up at the very top of the spreadsheet is a standards alignment, just to kind of help you, because sometimes that helps you understand what it is about the protocol that is supposed to be emphasized or repeated, okay? So each of these are a tutorial. These are like examples of presentations that I've done using these. And at the end, I'm going to show you a couple of adaptations as well. But there are a lot of them. So when I literally changed this presentation this morning, I was thinking, how do I stay true to Edu Protocols and let you know about all of this stuff when there is so much to learn and I only have an hour with you guys? So what I thought I would do is use a protocol in order to help you get exposed to as much as possible. You will not be an expert at these things when you leave, but you will be exposed to a lot of them and you will know a lot about a few of them. And you will have the tools that if you want to explore them further, you'll be able to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to use one of the protocols that's called the Iron Chef. Now, the way that I have these things grouped for you guys to do is I'm going to put you guys in breakout rooms, and I'm going to have you guys focus in just one area. So I've separated out the protocols that require students to look at a piece of stimulus. It could be a primary source, it could be a reading, it could be a math problem, it could be a photo or any kind of image or anything like that. It requires the student to look at and engage with a stimulus and analyze it, break it down. So all of these protocols do that kind of critical thinking process for the kids. What I've provided for you are like the tutorial slides for each of these different things. What it would be good to do is have the number of people that are in the breakout room just focus on maybe one, break them up evenly and have them focus on one, and then kind of follow the process for the Iron Chef. And I'll go back to that in a second, but I want to explain what we're going to be doing. So this first team, this will be, if you use primary sources and images in your learning, in your curriculum, and you think this might work for you, then you're going to want to go into breakout room number 1, okay? If you think that you want to use something that develops research skills. So what it's going to do is it's going to have the kids look at multiple different sites. They've got to get pieces of information from those sites and put them together in an orderly fashion in order to present. If you think research is something that you want to focus on, then you want to go into team or breakout room number 2, okay? If you are a math person, then you want to go into breakout room number 3, because these are all math specific protocols. And I want to also tell you about the fact that they've got another book that I haven't even gone into yet that's just focusing on math. So if you're a math person, go into this protocol and breakout room 3. If you like to write, if you want to develop writing and you want lots of different ways to approach kids and getting them to introduce writing into your curriculum, then you probably want to go into breakout room number 4. Some of these you're going to see, you would have seen probably in research, like there are some that do both, like you're going to write, but you also have to do research. So there's going to be a little bit of overlap, but these are all of the protocols that really require students grab from multiple sources and then put them into some kind of a presentation. So you would want to go into team 4. If you want to develop a social emotional or develop class culture, then Team 5 is the one for you. Is there anybody in here who actually returned back to face-to-face learning before the end of the school year? Is there anybody? A handful? Okay, if you didn't, you might be surprised at your kids when you go back into the classroom. One of the things that I noticed is they were really quiet, and it was really kind of hard to get them to interact with each other. Like they lost some of their social skills in the whole year that they were isolated at home. So I actually was using a lot of these just to get the kids to talk. I'm doing the same thing because I'm teaching summer school right now too. And in summer school, same thing. We had, our district did 2 different sessions of summer school. The first session of summer school, it took me almost the entire time that I had with them. And at the end, they were starting to act like normal teenagers. So you might want to think about some of these, because you might be surprised to find that your kids are a little, it'll take them a little time to warm up to each other. But if you want to think about a social emotional class team building, these require kids all to kind of work together. And the whole thing is they're all developing one product, like paper airplanes. They're trying to design the most perfect airplane. Frere is a great way to have kids introduce each other, because they have to do a Frere model or a Frere slide on the person that they're going to introduce, and they use the slide to introduce the person to the class. So it's those kinds of things. Now you'll also notice on this other side, there is a slide deck. There are some problems that we're going to incorporate, like you have to be familiar with sharing a deck in order for you to actually be using these effectively. Because the kids would all be working, they would work as a team and they would share the same deck. That's going to be different for us. We don't have the time for, I don't have the time to find out if you guys are all versed well enough in Google Slides to know if you could share a deck among the team of you, and you'd have to input emails into the share box so that you could collaborate, and that's going to be time consuming. So for those all intents and purposes, you guys are all going to want to open the same deck here. And what I'm going to do before you leave and before you choose your breakout room, I'm going to put this presentation in the chat. In fact, let me get the chat up here so I can see it. I'm going to put the presentation here in the chat so that you can have it open before you go into your breakout room, and you can decide. For some reason, it is not letting me. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second because it's not letting me see my chat. Okay, so let me put this link here in the chat. Okay. Okay, does everybody see the link? Okay, awesome. Okay, go ahead and click on it. Make sure that you can get in it. I see you guys all popping on my screen now. That's awesome. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen again with you guys now that I see that you're on here, and I'm going to give you the instructions for the Iron Chef. So these are the instructions. I'm going to put them up so that everybody can read them big. What I did to prepare for this activity or for this exercise is I've prepared a slide deck. It's actually the same slide deck that you would see if you clicked on the tutorial link on the slide deck at the very end. So it's going to have multiple templates in there. You could choose whatever one you think is important, but most important is, so let me get here. So this is the slide deck that you're going to get. At the end, it's going to have these templates. Each template, an important thing is it's divided into these sections. So what you would do as a student is you would read through the instructions. So you'll get 2 slides. There's this one that talks about the big ideas, and it kind of emphasizes what's important or what this strategy is exercising, and then it gives you the full instructions. So as a student, you would be looking at these, and these would be your resources that you're trying to understand. On each of these slides, one student would get a slide apiece, and what they would have to do is go out to the internet to find 3 images that kind of reflect the main idea of whatever the resource is that they're looking at. And then they want to come up with 5 facts about what it is they're learning. And then if they have time after they've done this, so the students remember the time frame, the kids have to read what it is that you've given them. They have to be able to digest it. They need to go out to the internet. Now kids are faster at that than we are, so they don't need quite as much time as you might think to do the going out and finding images. And so that's why there's this place over here. Some of them are going to be faster. Some of them are not going to be fast at all. So what these secret ingredients would be like something extra. Like if the kid knows something about the topic that they want to share, or if for our intents and purposes, a secret ingredient might be, this would be great for whatever in your classroom. So you might be thinking of ideas for how you could use it in your classroom. Okay, so that's what we would be doing here. So instead of sharing one deck, because what would happen, you'd get in the breakout room, all of you would decide on who's the person who's going to share the deck. Then they would open up the share thing. They would add everybody's emails into this one deck, and then you'd share this one collaborative deck. I actually love that about these Edu Protocols. It kind of helps the kids get to know each other better, and it makes them work together on a single deck, and I like that about that. We won't have time for it in our presentation for you guys to be able to do that. So you're all going to just be working on a single slide. It's going to be kind of good for you to have this experience because you'll know exactly what your kids are going to be looking for. Just know that they'll probably be faster at finding images than you are, but it'll be good for you to get the experience. When you come back, you probably won't feel like you're an expert at it because you're going to feel rushed. That's going to happen with these Edu Protocols. That's going to happen to your kids. That's why you want to repeat the protocol. So the next time you do it, what you're doing is you're focusing a lot more on the content because you don't have to repeat the process with the kids. The kids have already been through it. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. I'm going to stop talking at you, and I'm going to let you guys experience this. Remember the 5 rooms again. I'm going to go back into our presentation, and I'm going to just repeat. So team 1 is for if you use reading and other stimulus and you want your kids to dive deep into that, then you want to go into team 1. Team 2 is for research skills. So these are pretty heavy in providing kids different ways to access materials. So if you like that, then you're going to be in team 2. If you are a math person, you teach math, you want to go into team 3, in room 3. If you love writing and you want different ideas on how to get kids writing, then you're going to be wanting to go to team 4. And then the last one is developing social emotional learning or connecting your class, developing a class culture. That's going to be team number 5. So think about which one you want to go into, and our person is I forgot her name. Oh, I'm so bad. But I have a person who is helping me. She is setting up our breakout rooms as we speak. Ooh, yes, Jennifer, thanks for sharing. You guys take a look at what Jennifer just shared. I love Unsplash. So we are getting those breakout rooms set up, and she is letting you guys choose the breakout room. So at the bottom of your bar, your Zoom window, you should see a thing that says breakout rooms on it. And if you click on it, you'll be able to pick which room you want to go into. Okay. If you have any questions when you get in there, like for some reason the link won't open, please raise your hand. I'll jump in and I'll fix it. It's just changing I think I did it, but who knows? There were a lot of them. I might have missed one. So if you experience any kind of problems, raise your hand and I'll jump into your Zoom room and we'll fix it, okay? All right.
The rooms are open.
Oh, thank you, Grisha. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Grisha is helping us today and she set them up for you. So go ahead and go into your rooms.
How do we go there again?
Down at the bottom of your Zoom window, there should be a button that's labeled Breakout Rooms. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've not seen that before. Thanks.
Sunny, just tell me which one you want to go into and we can assign you to a room. And Tracy, both of you, which room would you want to go into? Okay, wait, let me see. Okay, so Rachel, you want to go into Breakout 3? Let me see where you are. There you are. Okay, let me get you into room 3. Okay, and then Tracy, you want to go into 4?
Sunny and Tracy already in room 4. Already put them.
I'm sorry, what?
It says Sunny and Tracy, they're already in room 4.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Is there anybody else who?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, so it is 9:50. I have, Grisha, how long do I have with our group?
10:20. So you have 30 minutes?
I have 30 minutes. Okay, so we'll probably give them, I need at least 10 minutes at the end. So let's give them about 15 minutes to do this and then we'll get them all back in the room, okay?
Okay, perfect.
I'll go ahead and broadcast that out to everyone. But we've got people in here. Hi, guys. Were you able to see? Is there anybody here? You guys can go ahead and unmute. Are you experiencing a problem or anything like that? Okay. Hi, Dora. I saw you trying. You can type it in the chat too. Just let us know which room you want to go into.
Sorry, I just don't see the choices. Hold on.
Oh, Dora, just tell me which room you want to go into and we'll put you in.
Well, I came in late, so I was like, oh my gosh, okay. Do you have another, maybe I should join your later session.
Oh, I don't have another session.
Oh, okay.
So what kind of teacher are you?
Actually, an administrator.
An administrator, then you might want to go into the Team 5. That is working on social emotional learning and icebreakers and that kind of thing. So you might want to do that, or the other rooms, we have a room that the first room really looks at analyzing documents. The second room or analyzing any kind of stimulus. The second room develops research skill. The third is for math. It specializes in math protocols. The fourth one is developing writing skills, and the last one is developing class culture.
I'd say, I guess, class culture.
Class culture, you got it. So that is room 5. Let me put you, there you go. You should see a message. Okay, anybody else need help getting into a room? Okay, so it looks like we have only one person in room 2. Hi, Tony.
Hi, I'm in group 3 and we're kind of like fuzzy on the directions right now. So we were hoping that you could come in and explain it to us.
You
'cause
got it.
We didn't really get it. So thanks.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Uh-huh.
Hi there, I'm back. Yeah, I think probably the social emotional might be the best breakout room for me.
She left the room to go to another room to help one of the participants. She'll be back soon though. Hey, Paula, do you want to close the rooms? You're muted.
Is it that time?
Yes.
Okay, so let me send a message out to them that we are going to be closing all rooms now.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and close all the rooms now.
And they have 60 seconds to leave the breakout room.
That's perfect. Looks like we've got everybody back now. So what I would like to do is I'd like to offer you guys a chance to share what you guys came up with. Is there anyone who would like to share what their group came up with in their breakout room? You can go ahead and click on the share the screen. If you want to, at the bottom of your Zoom window, you've got a share the screen button, and it should be set to where anybody can share their screen or their.
I can share.
Oh, that'd be awesome, Colleen. Go ahead and share what your group came up with.
Okay, we were in group 5, which is like the social emotional classroom culture. Let me see, share screen.
I got it for you.
Oh, you got it?
Can you guys see that screen?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I also dropped our slide into the chat too. If other people want to go in, I shared it with Paulina and then the moderator.
Okay,
Perfect.
great, thank you.
you.
Okay, so we did for your friend, and so this is something that if you were in the classroom, you would have 2 students sit next to one another, and they would set up this like graphic organizer. You can see that on the left-hand side with the pictures and the images. And they would write the student's name in there, and they would kind of interview the student about, like, you know, what does your classmate look like? What are 4 things they like? Draw a picture of their dream pet. What are 4 things they don't like? So they would interview their classmate, and then vice versa, the other classmate would interview them. We figured that there could be a variety of ways to apply this. You could put a vocabulary word in the middle. You could put a concept in the middle. You could use it even at the professional level in meetings to get to know one another as, you know, our colleagues. And so those were some of the things that we came up with. And then I believe this activity would go a little bit further, where it then would be shared out as a whole class, where you would share about your neighbor. Okay.
That is awesome. Thank you. Okay, does anybody else want to share what they had? Okay. Let me see if there's. Okay. What I was hoping you would experience is you would at least become a little bit more familiar with at least one of the Edu Protocols. You have this presentation, you will be able to see it. Sometimes it's not the structure in the lesson itself, and I want to give you a good example of that. So I'm going to share my screen with you one more time here. And what I'm going to do is take you to the last slide in our presentation. Let me get out of presentation mode. Well, okay. On the very last slide, we have the resources link. So this first link is going to take you to this Google slide where you have the templates for every single one of the Edu Protocols in those first 2 books. So you were looking at one, here's a slide that has, or a sheet that has all of them. I have some, our group, Colleen was talking about the modification of Frere a friend, and there are modifications, there are ways that you can do that. So I have that here, but also like if you look at the 8 parts, that's generally like used as a math protocol, but here we've got it modified to where you could talk about sentence parts, or you could talk about parts of a language parts like adjectives or something like that. All of these, since they're just the structure of a lesson, the way that you practice or participate in the lesson, they are easily modifiable. And so that's kind of what I want to emphasize to you with this. So the first one I want to talk about is thin slides, an example of it that I used in class. The first time I saw this, it was a colleague of mine. Her name is Diane Mapes, and she was in here for a little while. I don't know if she's still here, but she had used thin slides in her classroom. She was teaching government at the time, and she used thin slides as an example to get the kids to learn more about the different amendments to the Constitution. So when I was watching the kids do their presentation, as each kid, for example, with a thin slide, you're supposed to come up with one word and one picture that represents whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing. So let's say the First Amendment is what the kids were supposed to be presenting on. How do you get one word? I mean, the First Amendment has at least 5 different rights that you are going to do. So how do you come up with one word and one picture that represents all that is represented in the First Amendment, right? The kids do it, but it's not the fact that it's just the one picture and the one word, it's the presenting part. What happens is the kids have to present the deck that they come up with. Well, let's say you have 10 groups of 4 people, where you're hearing the First Amendment done 10 different ways with each of the different groups. And every time the teacher has the chance to chime in with, that's really good. That's a great way that you expressed the freedom of speech. But the next kid, you might emphasize, oh, that's great. That's a great way to emphasize the right to assemble, right? And so it is the process, the sharing process. You get repetitive times with the same content. So that was the way that she was using it, and that's the way that she emphasized it. In my class, and that was with a regular government class. With my class, what I wanted to do was I wanted to use thin slides as an opportunity to chunk literature. So I had the Constitution, and what I did was I broke it apart by articles. So for each article, the kids had to do a thin slide template. And what I was expecting my kids to do was to chunk the document itself, just that Article 1. Let me show you how I prep them for that. So I have the thin slides template here. I have it with the instructions, and I have the deck assembled for the kids. So with the thin slides, you're supposed to do, and this is the deck that I actually used. So I have this first deck. I walk through an example with my kids on how to do this thin slides. You'll notice that there's a timer here. So what I added in my class is one more level. I added a screencast. So what the kids had to do was present this in no longer than 8 seconds, telling me about this section, why you picked this word to represent this chunk of the Article 1 of the Constitution and this image. And when the kids are presenting that, when they're recording themselves presenting that, what they're doing is they're explaining it over and over again. And then I have the kids present this to the class. So let me show you how I broke that down a little bit more. So on the first slide, that's their thin slide. I tell them what they're doing. I've kind of already broken down Article 1 a little bit for them to give them help. Not all kids are as familiar as everyone else. I give them an annotated version of the article that they're looking at. And then here I give them the article that I've kind of chunked only by sections. So what I'm telling the kids to do, section 1, it's only what, 2.5 lines? Maybe you can make that all in one slide deck. And I give them an example of it. But when I let the kids go and they did their own slide deck, I had kids that wanted to do 3 different thin slides on article or section 1 because they wanted to talk about this one represents Congress. This represents that it's a 2-chamber Congress. And this one is about legislative power. They have all of the legislative power for this government. That's fine. They don't have to chunk it the way that I gave it to them. They're going to chunk it in whatever way feels natural to them. So I tell them you have to get the main ideas of each section represented. So some kids, some groups decided that section 1 only needed 1 slide, but section 2, we really need to have about 3 slides for that. What I'm doing is I'm reinforcing chunking, which is a literacy strategy where the kids have to pull out what the main ideas are. So they're using those thin slides to emphasize that reading technique. I don't tell the kids exactly what it is. I'm telling them you have to find the main ideas, but I know that that's emphasizing chunking, and I'm making them do that. And I'm having them do that as a way to analyze this deck. So it's a different way to apply thin slides. My colleague did the 1 thin slide per amendment. I'm telling kids 1 thin slide per main idea in a section. You'll apply it a different way in your classroom. That's the beauty of these things. And it's not that a kid knows everything because they've found 1 picture and 1 word. It's the presenting afterwards and the repetition that helps. They're powerful. I really want to encourage you guys to play around with them. So this is an example of thin slides. If you go back into, there's a protocol for that, I have you debate it. So looking at 2 sides of an issue. So I did that with my Gov kids by telling them to compare Federalist 10 to Brutus 1. Of the Anti-Federalist Papers. And what they had to do was follow this protocol. And then at the end, I had them debate it in class using, we were in Zoom because we were all remote at that time. So what they had to do was what You Debate It does is it takes them through that debate process. So first I have half of a team looking at just Madison's argument in Federalist number 10. And then I have half of the team, they're looking at the Anti-Federalists and they're focusing just on Brutus 1. Then I give them the breakdown. So I want them to have a slide that really outlines some of the main arguments on the proper role of government that Madison hits. And then the size and the power of the national government. And then what's Yates' argument about it? So they're going to have these side by side. And then they follow these are just the analysis. I'm helping them, or I'm reemphasizing what I want them to get out of it. But then this is where the debate it comes in. So here we're looking at the affirmative team and then the negation team. And here I have a couple of videotapes that look at both sides of the presentation. You can kind of see how I have this yellow is representing Madison's position. These silver things are representing Brutus 1, Yates' position. And then what the kids have to do is take notes on Madison's argument and then my Brutus are taking notes on Yates's argument. They present this to the class, and then they're going to come up with main idea and evidence for each one. And so basically what they're doing is an outline of an argumentative essay. And then at the end, the closing statement, after they've filled out this deck and we've presented it to the class, I have the kids write me kind of a summation of what it is and who do they think had the right position, kind of thing. So it's a way to kind of break them into argumentative writing at a time. It's like another way to do it, right? So this is one way I kind of presented that for my You Debate It. There is quite a bit. I did quite a bit of background or breaking these things down for the kids, maybe more than I needed to, because like I said, I was kind of new to using some of these protocols myself. So I wanted to make sure that the kids had enough and I could walk through it with them. Plus with the AP kids, they're taking the test at the end. They have to be familiar. So I want to hit them over the head with it a number of times. The last one was primary source examples. So with a primary source, I've got Federalist number 51 here. And what I did was, this is the deck for the primary source. I want to have the kids very familiar with it. So I give them historians examples of it. So I pull something from Khan Academy. I pull one from hip something or other, and then I pulled another one from these 3 different videos, and then they're just listening to them. They're pulling 3 facts, and then they come down here. What did they learn from each one? They sum up kind of what they experienced with that. And then I have them look at the primary source. I have an audio version here. They're supposed to give me historic context, intended audience, purpose, and point of view. Then I take them down here. What's his thesis? What are his main points? I want them very familiar with these parts of their argument. Then I go through it. I just want to pinpoint some of the things. And then what I do is have them, I emphasize this with them in each of these, and they've got to present on it. So this is just a way that I applied primary source in an AP Gov class.
Paula, I'm sorry to bother you, but
Yeah.
session 2 starts at 10:30.
Oh, I am so sorry, you guys. Well, I hope that you have enough that at least you want to explore it a little bit more. I love them. I swear by them. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your presentations. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me or message me in Sked, and I will be happy. I am a big believer in Edu Protocols.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.